Grip 6 manufactures amazing belts, wallets, and wool socks. And did you know they have unlimited replacements for life? Check out their chess-themed merchandise at grip6.com/chess and use code CHESS20 for 20% off your next order.
Hey everybody, it's Grandmaster Ben Finegold here again with the game of the day from the Candidates Tournament. Today there was one decisive game, and it was in the tournament leaders game, so that's the game of the day. It's Jan Nepomniachtchi versus Kirill Alekseenko. And I think I'll refer to Nepomniachtchi as Jan, since I can't properly pronounce his last name. I think you don't pronounce the I at the end. You're supposed to say like Nepomniachtchi. But all right, I can say Jan. And I can say Kirill too. Okay, so I'll give you a little background for a few seconds, then we'll get right into it. There's a FIDE rule that players from the same country can't play at the end of the tournament in a tournament like this because they don't want any funny stuff going on. And there's 3 Russian players, so they played yesterday and today, and then there's 4 rounds left, and then they don't play each other. And the same holds with Dingler and Wang Hao. So, and I guess if Wesley and Hikaru were also in this tournament, them and Caruana would play early also. That 40, 50, 60 years ago, that was pretty important. I don't think it's important nowadays. All right. So Jan played c4, starting with some kind of English. And then it turned into like a faux Catalan, because in the Catalan proper, White's always playing d4. So it's not really a Catalan. It's still just some kind of, English. And here Black can do anything he wants. One of the reasons people with White play this kind of way is they want to get positions their opponents aren't familiar with. This isn't like Queen's Gambit Declined or King's Indian or Queen's Indian or Benoni. What is this? So, and the reason people don't play it with White is they don't know what Black's going to do. Is Black going to play d4? Is Black going to take? Is Black going to play c6? Bishop e7? I mean, all those moves are fine. So anyway, Jan likes to get new positions and outplay his opponent. He doesn't want his opponent to play 20 moves for free. Okay, it's sort of the way I like to play also. I just don't play as well. Okay, so he took on c4. That's one of the main moves. Queen a4 check. Knight bd7 is the most common move. Takes his pawn back. And here Black can play c5 or a6, but a6 is fine, played by Magnus Carlsen more than once. And the obvious idea, which actually I discussed in another game of the day video that had to do with, in the Catalan, Black playing b5 and bishop b7. So Black wants to play b5 and bishop b7, but it's more difficult to do here because White hasn't wasted a tempo with d4. So White can do things to try to prevent that. And then if Black doesn't play b5, bishop b7, that's not good. And he has the Catalan bishop and so forth. So he played queen c2. Now you can't play b5 because it doesn't attack the queen because you're going to get in trouble here. The knight can come into d4, e5, c6. Your rook's attack. You can't do it. So he played c5. That's the most common move. And after knight c3, this is where Alekseenko's understanding of the position or knowledge of the position didn't exist. He played a line that's just bad, and he was losing pretty quickly. The super GMs in this position usually play queen c7. And if you don't know the position very well, that's hard to find. The idea is you want to play b5 and bishop b7, but b5 is too risky. The knight moves, attacking the rook, and if the rook goes to any of the legal squares, knight c6 is going to fork the queen and rook, right? So for example, b5, which is, not good, knight e5, attacking the rook. Now you're forced to sacrifice the exchange. If you play here, then it's not good. Okay, so the super GMs play queen c7, and that way, if Black does play b5 and White moves his knight, Black can safely move his rook to one of these squares because knight c6 doesn't fork the queen and the rook, That's why you play queen c7. Okay, and many super grandmaster games have been this way, and I think white has a slight advantage. But Alekseenko just played sort of boring solid, and that's a really bad idea in this position because you'll never get these out. When you play a6, you gotta play b5, bishop b7. And we play, especially when you play knight bd7, because sometimes you'll play bishop d7 as c6, but not now. So unfortunately, I think this is where he lost the game strategically. Bishop e7 and castles. That's, yeah, now, as Carol King would say, it's too late. Okay, d4, that's fine. Takes. And I mean, it's obvious that white has a nice advantage because, you know, black's very passive, and this is just the fantastic Catalan bishop. This is what white is hoping for when he plays g3, bishop g2, that he has a lot of pressure and black has no counterplay. Okay, so he played queen c7 finally. Rook d1, rook d8, bishop e3, just developing the pieces except for those. Okay, so Kirill tried. He played knight b6. He wants to get his bishop out. He wants to get his knight to a better square. All right. And I mean, Jan just played very simple moves. You know, put the knight here, put the bishop here, put the rooks here. You know, nothing special, just develop my pieces, and black can't develop his pieces. Okay, now in this position, Alekseenko made a big decision, which the engine says is fine. And I think the reason the engine says it's fine is his position's so bad. Otherwise, I think this is a very bad move, but it leads to a very bad position, but other things are worse. So, I mean, if I was black, I would play bishop d7. Okay, that's, according to the engine, the second best move. But he played e5. He's trying to fight back. And that sort of reminds me of when Wang Hao played g6 against Giri, and then he was lost. E5 gives away the f5 square, the d5 square, but he really wants to get his bishop out somewhere, and he wants to make a threat. He's made a threat this game. Okay, knight f5, and you could take or play bishop f8. They're both lead to bad positions. Bishop f8, obviously my preference. Always play bishop f8. But white just has a huge advantage. Great bishop, great knight, another great knight, great bishop, and it's terrible. Okay, so he took, getting rid of the bishop that could never move. That gives him some, breathing space, I guess. But now white has the two bishops. The bishops are fantastic. This rook is lined up with your queen. Okay, and he pretended to make a threat, knight c4, bishop g5. And the only move that could possibly give black any chance just doesn't work. It's knight takes b2, might as well win a pawn. And after knight d5, black has to resign. White's threatening knight takes, rook takes, and he's got some issues here too. And one of the funny lines is if you take with the rook, and the idea is taking with the queen is now, actually it's okay. But black gets some play here, takes this rook with check. But taking this is good because the bishop on g5 protects the rook. That's amazing. Yeah, now white's up a lot of material. This is hanging. The queen's attacked. All right. But rook takes queen also wins. So knight d5 is a killer. So after bishop g5, he traded rooks. The knight took the rook, which may look unusual to you, but he's keeping the pin here on the knight, which is pretty good. And he played rook d8. So if this rook ever takes this knight in any possible way, this knight's hanging. And now this was the very nice winning tactic. This would be, Puzzle Rush, Tactics Trainer on Chess.com kind of tactic. Okay, bishop takes f6 and bishop e4. And normally when you got this setup, black always plays g6. Black's not playing g6 here because the bishop isn't defended. There's no defense to this. That's amazing. Just very simple. Not only is white, doing this, that's also not good for black. And the bishop is just terrible. Can't move. And this bishop is fantastic. So white's completely winning. He played queen here, trying to get counterplay. Knight c3, no counterplay. There's no hurry to take this. You can't do anything about it. He moved his king away. Knight d5, making sure the king can't go to e7. So now this idea would be checkmate. Also, the knight's not defended. So he defended his knight. He threatened mate in 1, queen h8 mate. Good luck stopping it. There's nothing to do. So he sacked the exchange because you got to get rid of the knight on d5. And then he did a fork. Now, to explain to you how hard chess is, white only has one move that wins here. Otherwise, he's got nothing. I mean, he's forked. So he had to see this before he played queen h7 and knight d5 and all that. Nepomniachtchi had to do good calculation. And he always sacks the exchange. The only winning move. But it really wins. And then he plays e4, which is a human move. No engine plays that move. That's my kind of move. I love e4 because it kills this bishop. The pawn can never move. And this bishop is solidified. I really like the move e4. And there could be potentially counterplay for black with if he gets e3 in. So e4 just shuts the door. Takes the pawn. And this check in queen c8 is fantastic. He's attacking this pawn, but also there's queen c7 check, and you're going to get checkmated. So he played the best move, Alekseenko, queen b6, stopping queen c7 check, takes, threatening this pawn, queen b5. Sometimes these opposite bishop endings are draws, sometimes, even when you're down 2 pawns. So he wants to trade queens. But black's king is exposed, and black has a weak a pawn and f pawn, so there ain't no trading queens. Once the king goes here, black has no counterplay at all. What a sorry bishop. Okay, he has to play queen d7, otherwise he loses f7, check. And here he resigned. If he plays king e8, bishop c6 wins the queen. If he plays king to d8, I have more than one way to win. I can check and win this pawn, or I can check and win this pawn. Probably that's what I would do. And if queen d6, which looks logical, I could take it and take this, but more likely I would go here. And that threatens this pawn, and this king. So you're going to, something bad's going to happen. Yeah. So a very nice, smooth victory. This is the final position from Nepomniachtchi. He's now a point into the lead. He's a point ahead of Giri, Caruana, and MVL. And tomorrow's a rest day. And there's 4 rounds left. So somebody's got to beat Nepomniachtchi or he's the next challenger to Magnus. A point ahead with 4 rounds to go. That's pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed that game. Again, not as much as Jan enjoyed it. Looked like a nice smooth win. And I'm Grandmaster Ben Finegold here at Chess.com. We hope you like the coverage. We always have a lot of Grandmasters and IMs doing the coverage of the games live. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch on Twitch. And please follow the candidates. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.